So yeah, my name is Alex Wick. As I said, I'm the founder and CEO of Cascadia Carbon, and we're a company that builds climate tech. Is climate tech self-explanatory? Do you guys understand what that is? It's basically tech-enabled tools which empower individuals and enterprise to step up and join the fight against climate change. So yeah, we're building an app. It's called Codex. It's available in the iOS App Store right now. It's still a rough like beta MVP, but basically what it does at its core, it's a carbon emissions calculator, which works automatically to detect your carbon emissions from your transportation. The cool thing about Codex is not only does it let you sort of get a handle on your footprint, how much carbon you're producing from your daily commute, if you have one, or driving to the store, driving to pick up your kids, driving to family, friends, driving out to dinner, driving all over the place, really. That's what Americans love to do. But the thing is, like with climate change, we can't keep driving as much as we're driving. Like sitting in traffic is hell for climate change. You know, it's obviously getting warmer. The ice is melting, which is another positive feedback loop, which is actually a really important concept in climate change as well as behavioral psychology. So a positive feedback loop, despite having the word positive in it, is really negative from a climate standpoint, at least. The idea of a positive feedback loop is you have a feedback loop, so it's a process which runs in a circle. So I'll give you a great example here. The ice albedo feedback loop, and you may have heard of this, you probably haven't, maybe, I don't know what I'm going to say. But yeah, the idea is the ice albedo feedback loop. Albedo is a measure of a planet's reflectivity. So alba comes from white in Latin. And so the idea behind albedo is the whiter a planet is, the more energy it reflects back out to space. And therefore the cooler it stays because it has less energy coming in, hitting the surface and staying there. So let's apply this sort of more to a real world situation. So if you have ice caps on your north and south poles, as the Earth usually does, it reflects a lot of that heat energy back into space, which keeps the ice cold, keeps it frozen, and keeps it white. Now, the problem is when you start warming up the world a little bit, some of the ice melts. That's natural. But the white ice melts and becomes dark seawater, which absorbs more energy. And that's a positive feedback loop. The more energy you absorb, the more the ice melts, the darker the planet's surface gets, the more energy is absorbed. Now, if you run that feedback loop enough, you end up with basically Venus, sort of 600 degrees Celsius hellscape. Fortunately, there are negative feedback loops which counteract these positive feedback loops and help us maintain our Earth in something called homeostasis. It's a tendency of a system to return to it's like a middle baseline, basically. Anyway, I'm probably getting way too out there for most of y'all, but I mean, with climate change, these positive feedback loops drive increasing weather events, fires, general unpleasantness. So what can individuals do about this? I mean, there's sort of a common thought process or refrain that people say that, you know, oh, it's the corporation's fault. Oh, it's, you know, someone else's fault. Oh, you know, my individual action doesn't matter. And the good news is that's wrong. It's just flat out wrong. Like, the only thing you can control are your own actions. You can try to convince other people, but then at the end of the day, like, the only thing you can control is yourself. And that's where individual action starts. So driving less, flying less, eating less meat, and buying, consuming, and throwing away less. Now notice I don't say don't drive, don't fly, don't eat meat. I mean, the fact is everyone produces carbon and everyone has a carbon footprint. If you're in the first world or second world, you probably have a much larger carbon footprint, statistically at least, than anyone in the third world, just because you are living in a heated home and probably buying a lot of things off Amazon Prime. But I mean, everyone can do something about it. So basically, you can commit to climate action. So you find a community either near you or virtually. There are plenty of these climateaction.tech, collective.energy, or just two of them. And you can hold yourself accountable with tech tools, basically. One of which is this app we built called Codex. So it allows you to, it eliminates the pain point of like having to input all your info into it. So, you know, when you drive, how far you drive, how fast you drive, the elevation change, the weather, all that goes into the Codex algorithm automatically from your onboard sensors on your smartphone. And so all this information goes into our algorithm and outputs a number, your carbon emissions. And that lets you, first of all, it lets you know how much carbon you're producing. I mean, until we know how much of a problem we're causing, it's difficult to stop causing the problem, right? So it educates you, or that's one of the things it does. It lets you know how much carbon you're producing. And it's not meant to be like a bad thing or a shameful thing. I mean, everyone produces carbon. I mean, we all breathe it out. If you go for a run, you're producing probably almost a pound of carbon. Depends on how long the run is, how fast you're running. But the point is everyone's metabolism produces carbon dioxide. We do the opposite of trees. Trees take in carbon dioxide, produce oxygen. Humans take in oxygen and produce carbon dioxide. So that cycle is what has allowed us to exist for the past, I don't know, 800 million years something, or if you're a flat earther or creationist, the last 5,000 years. I don't know. I don't care. That's in the past. Anyway, the point being, what was the point? I mean, the point being, at the end of the day, like, it comes down to what you personally are doing. And so Codex allows you not only quantify what you're doing, but then also to generate offsets whenever you choose to walk to the store or bike to see family or buy an EV and drive, you know, to a national park. The key thing we're trying to instill in people here, though, is not only that individual action matters and we're all in this together, because we are, I mean, the environment affects us all, but just educating individuals that we have to drive less if we're going to survive climate change. It's just that the scientists don't really say it, which is interesting because, you know, everyone knows that cars produce huge amounts of carbon dioxide out of their tailpipe, about 200 pounds per week. So probably more than your body weight every single week is coming out of your tailpipe. And that's gas. So it's 200 pounds of gas. That's a lot of volume. It's like, I think, a 15-foot diameter weather balloon. So just picture like a sphere 15 feet in diameter of pure